Guys, listen, if a girl just turned to you and said that, she wasn't asking you to try to slide into the DMs later, all right? She was just being nice. So listen, I'm with you, right? I'm with you. But somebody gives you a compliment doesn't mean they're trying to find a boyfriend, so just stay with me on that one, all right? But real talk, I know some of y'all are like, yo, that was my shot, man, what's up? I know, I'm sorry. But for real, we all need affirmation, right? We like to hear that. We all like to know where we fit socially. We like to know who our groups are. All of us have been through something like that, maybe where you go to a new area and you try to, you're trying to find a new friend group, or trying to figure out where you belong. I get it. I mean, even as an adult, I did that. When I first became a student pastor, I remember going to my first church, and I showed up to my first church, and I had a student ministry. We started with 6 kids, and I was like, all right, Lord, let's do this, right? Like, hey, 6 is more than 5 and whatever, so we'll change the world with 6 kids. I'm cool with that. But honestly, I loved them. I was young. I loved them, but I wanted them to love me too, right? Like, any Office fans in here? So, if you picture Michael Scott saying, like, you want to be feared or loved, I want them to be afraid of how much they love me kind of thing. That's what I was thinking, right? Like, yeah, man, I want the kids to love me back. So it was for me, like, trying to fit in and figure it out. And little did I know, if you just show love and be loved, it's going to be all good. But I was all worried about it. And so I remember I planned, one of the things that I planned was like a snowboarding trip. We were like, go spend the weekend. And I was thinking, man, this would be a great time for them to get to know me better, and we'll hang out, and it'll just be good. And so we went, and man, it was awesome. We had a good time. Of course, normal injuries, and I think some kid wiped out like 4 other people we didn't know. You know how it goes, right? Student ministry, snowboarding trips, and it was the last night. We're hanging out in the lodge, and just spending some time, and drinking overpriced hot chocolate and whatnot. And I was like, man, I gotta use the restroom. So I'm thinking, hey, this is going good. I'm building friendships with the kids. This is going to be awesome. So I go, and I use the restroom, and I get there, and I'm like, that seems weird, but I just don't know the place. Use the restroom, and I come out, and my group, the leaders, everybody's just kind of looking at me, and I see them, like, pointing, and I'm like, what? I'm like, wait, is everything good? And I turn around. I had been in the women's bathroom, y'all. And they're like, ha! And they're like laughing. I'm like, great, way to go, moron. You spent all this time getting love. Now they know you're an idiot, right? I'm like, dang! So, I know that there are times in our lives when stuff like that happens, right? Where we're trying to just figure out where we fit. Well, that's kind of an analogy to where we're going tonight in terms of our spiritual walk, right? This morning we said this, that Jesus changes everything. He does. We're talking about Paul. Jesus changes everything. And tonight, here's the one thought that kind of follows up with that, is this, is that only Christ can give new life. Only Jesus Christ can give new life. And so when we look at our spiritual position, get this, there's no guesswork about a relationship with Christ. We either have or we have not, right? And so tonight we're in Ephesians chapter 2. We're going to look at verses 1 through 5. So open your Bibles. We want to get into the Word until the Word gets into us. So Ephesians 2, looking at verses 1 through 5. Man, grab your pens, pencils, however you want to do it. Highlighter, however. And I'm going to tell you something. I'll be like, hey, circle this, underline this. Because we're going to talk about it later in the text. But Ephesians 2, 1 through 5. As soon as you find it, say Word. Word. Ooh, you got some fast turners up in here. Don't lie about being a fast turner, though. Come on. All right, cool. So here we go. Ephesians 2, 1 through 5. Read along with me. Here we go. It says this. And you, Paul, is obviously talking to the Ephesians. He says, you were dead in your trespasses. Here's what I did. I circled the word dead. That's significant. And then I underlined the words in your trespasses. We're talking about how we fit. And this phrase talks about position. We'll talk about that in just a minute. But this talks about a spiritual position, being dead in our trespasses. You were dead in your trespasses and sins in which you previously lived according to the ways of the world. Those were according to the ruler of the power of the air. What's he saying there? This is really strong. He says you lived according to the ruler of the power of the air. Who's that? That's Satan. That's the enemy. He's saying when you're dead in your trespasses and sin, you are living a life that does not honor God. Your life honors the ruler, the prince of the power of the air of this earth, Satan. He says, we too all previously lived among them in our fleshly desires, carrying out the inclinations of our flesh and thoughts, and like, man, doing the things that came naturally to us. Listen, he's talking about in our flesh, not spiritually. And we were by nature children under wrath, as others were also. So pause right there. The first description he gives us is saying, man, dead in trespasses and sin. And then he continues, but God. Circle those two words. Highlight it. Write it in the sky. We'll talk about that in a minute. But God, who is rich in mercy. I underline that phrase too, right? Because we're talking about spiritual positions here. But God, who is rich in mercy, because of his great love that he had for us, made us alive with Christ. Even though we were dead in trespasses, you are saved by grace. So Paul uses these verses, and Ephesians 2 is all phenomenal, but he uses these verses to show us the difference of where we can be spiritually. You notice there's